hunting,
fishing,
cooking,
camping,
conservation,
travel,
gardening,
photography, family.
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 This is the Outdoor Rules Podcast. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. It's going to be the brothers today. Say hi, fellas.
Hello.
Hello.
There's Mark and Matt, and obviously this is Mike. Thought we would chat a little bit today about shotguns. There's a couple of things coming up and that have happened recently that have put this in mind. For me anyway, turkey season is right around the corner, so that's always got me thinking about shotguns. And then the other thing that happened is we talked about him on here before, but our other brother Davey, who's actually a second cousin, his mom, it turns out, had some audio recording of our grandpa, Pop Grant, and his brothers and his sisters as well from a family reunion. So a cassette tape audio recording of them sitting around telling some stories, and some of those stories were about small game hunting, which, if you don't know, that's kind of a primary use of shotguns. So anyway, we just thought it might be fun to get together and talk a little bit about shotguns and our families, kind of the heirlooms that we've inherited and what we use. And I thought probably the best way to open it up was maybe to do just a little bit of technical background. Matt or Mark, would one of you kind of cover the way shotgun sizing works, and then also maybe like the common types of actions on shotguns?
The sizing goes off of, they call it gauging, gauges. So the most standard sporting gauge tends to be the 12 gauge. And I don't know, I guess, is that a diameter, like a diameter pipe? Is that where the gauging comes from? Do you know?
Matt, do you know the answer?
Never asked that question.
I have no idea.
I do.
I would almost have to guess you do. All right, then.
The answer to the question, so what Mark's talking about gauge is essentially how big the hole in the end of the barrel of the shotgun is. And the way it works is generally the smaller the number. So Mark mentioned a 12 gauge. There's another really common gauge called a 20 gauge that would actually be smaller in diameter. And that's because what 12 gauge means is the number of spherical lead balls that it would take at that diameter to equal 1 pound in weight. So it would take 12 round balls to equal 1 pound. That's a 12.
What kind of made up BS is this?
I don't know.
Also,
That's how it works.
Is this one of those things you keep in your pocket for trivia, or did you look this up before this conversation?
No, I did not look this up for this conversation. It's just something that somewhere along the way I learned.
What if the balls aren't spherical?
Then that throws off the whole equation.
I see.
So anyway, so basically they go from, I mean, in the old days they had 8 gauges even. I know, I'm sure somewhere along the line there were 6 probably, but
they had punt guns. I don't know how big they were.
Right.
Huge.
But commonly today it's 10. 10 is not as common, but it's still in production, and it goes up to, I believe, 410 or 28. I don't know which is bigger.
410 is not a gauge. That's actually a diameter.
That's right.
Right.
So that's the one.
So 28 gauge would be the biggest gauge sizing that I would know of.
Which is
or the smallest, I mean. Biggest number, smallest size.
Right.
But
and so
410 is smaller than a 28 gauge.
Yeah, considerably.
And so if you have a 12 gauge, you can fit more powder and more lead projectiles or steel projectiles, whatever you're putting in it, in it than you can in a 20 gauge. Same with the 20 gauge to 28 gauge. So as you go down, you get more power per se, but some of that's not even necessarily true.
Yeah, you get the ability to shoot more shot generally.
Right.
Matt, do you remember our neighbors across the street when we lived at Zinn's Mill?
Yes.
Do you recall their name? Because I don't. Well,
Ellinger?
It's
Ellinger.
Dick Ellinger. So I bring that up because Dick Ellinger gave me an 8-gauge paper shotgun slug. So it's a paper shotgun shell. The shell itself is made out of paper, and it's got, I don't know, what must be like a 2.5-ounce lead slug in it.
Oh, yeah. You have no way to fire it.
It's the only 8-gauge shotgun shell that I've ever seen. I still have it somewhere. Do you also remember that he had an explosion in his garage one time from black powder?
Yeah, they had an open container of black powder and were grinding or something like that, and sparks flew in it, and it blew a giant hole in the roof of the garage. And fortunately, nobody was seriously injured.
Generally a bad idea to have open containers of black powder, period, but really not a good idea to be grinding around them. Yeah. So the common sporting gauges now, like you're saying, Mark, are 10 gauge, which is the biggest, 12, which is probably the most common. Then there's a least common one, which is 16. 20 is the second most common after 12 gauge. Then 28. And then there's the 410, which is a diameter, not a gauge, but it's the smallest. There are actually other sub gauges. There are 24 and 32. They call them sub gauges. I don't know if they're still common in other parts of the world, but they do exist. That's kind of how gauges work. So mostly what we'll talk about today are 10s, 12s, and 20 gauges. Although we might throw in a 16 or two. Matt, what about like the common action types?
Well, there's several different actions. You have, your break, open, single shots, and or double barrels, whether that be side by side or over under.
So that's like what you see in the Old West movies when they're on the stagecoach, right? Is usually a break.
Yeah, usually that's
side by side.
Typically a side by side, yeah.
And that side by side is literally where the barrels are next to each other.
Yes. And over under, they're on one on top of the other.
Right.
And then you have a pump action where once you fire a shot, you got to actually, the forward stock is attached to the action and you pull it towards you and then back again to reload. And then there's autoloaders, which do all that work for you. And then there actually are, and they're not very common. I don't know if any of them are actually in production anymore, but there are lever action and bolt action shotguns.
Yeah, there were, there definitely are bolt action shotguns still in production for slug hunting with deer, and we'll get into that in a second.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But you're right. There was a time when bolt actions had a little bit of popularity. And lever actions, there's a couple companies now, well, like Henry, I think, is making lever action 410 shotguns, right?
Yeah, I know Winchester was making them not too long ago. I just don't think they're producing them right now.
Right. But anyway, yeah, those are the really common ones, and the pump actions are, I don't know, they're what you often see in the movies because they're, I don't know, they make the shucking noise, right? The noise. So I think they're real popular for use in TV and movies. What's so funny, Mark?
Your fancy new soundboard doesn't have a shotgun pumping noise on it?
No, I don't. I don't have a shotgun pumping noise on my fancy new soundboard here. I wish I did. Maybe I'll have to work on getting that. So we talked a little bit about the gauges and the different action types. There's kind of two types of projectiles that you can shoot out of a shotgun. And generally speaking, they're really for different purposes. Mark, I guess cover that, like slugs versus shot.
So slug is going to be a single projectile used mostly in deer hunting. And then after that, it's shot, like you said, Mike, what you think of when you think of shot. And shot can range anywhere from, they'll give you a number of how many shot are in the shell for like buckshot or pumpkin balls. And they can be, I don't know what the biggest one is, but so it'll go from what they call buckshot, big stuff that in some states, I think it's still legal, they use for deer hunting, all the way up to real small bird shot that you would use for shooting things like farm pests like starlings. And the range there is all dependent on what type of game you're hunting.
Right. So, like you're saying, I think the biggest common shot is triple-aught buckshot. And this is another one of those like confusing things, kind of like gauges. But in general, shot sizes, the shot itself gets smaller as the number goes up. So 4-shot is bigger than 8-shot.
Correct.
And so you would, generally speaking, the bigger the shot that you're using, the bigger the game that you're hunting. So for small animals, like small birds like doves, you use small shot, like 8-shot. For bigger birds like pheasants, you would use 4-shot, and kind of on and on, right?
Ducks 2, geese BB, and so forth.
Yeah, and then that's like a whole nother thing on the technical side of this. And if you're still listening to us, thank you. But we're kind of getting to all this so we can talk about these different shotguns, and we can talk a little bit about turkey hunting. But the material that the shot is made out of is kind of like the last variable here that we want to talk about. So, Mac, could you, I guess, hit on that a little bit? Like, what are the different materials that shot is typically made out of?
Well, I mean, initially shot was all lead. And then, I don't know when exactly, but for waterfowl hunting, they, at some point in the past, decided that lead shot was toxic to that environment. So they made you shoot non-toxic shot, which for a long time was just steel. But since then, they've come out with, I don't even know, countless other metals that you're allowed to hunt with. I mean, there's bismuth and heavy shot, and I don't even, that's just to name a few, tungsten.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the reason that lead shot was really common and widely used was, for a couple reasons. One, it melts at a low temperature, so it's easy to melt. And what they would do is they would drop it. They literally would pour it through a sieve, and it would drop down a tube and form spheres, and it would fall into a bucket into water and cool to harden. And so then they could just take another sieve and grade the shot out by what sizes they got, and that's why it was really commonly used. It's also really ideal for using in shotguns because it's pretty dense, and that density affects how it flies, basically, and how it retains energy. So, like, what's the limitation with steel, Matt?
Well, it's lighter than lead. It's not as dense as lead, so range is your limitation with steel.
Right, so it loses
and penetration.
It loses velocity faster than lead does.
Yeah.
So you, like Mark, you were saying you have to shoot, 2-shot for ducks, but you only really have to do that because when you're duck hunting, you have to use steel, and to achieve the same result, you have to use a bigger shot size. Yeah, and like you're saying, Matt, I mean, when we were real young, before we started hunting, almost everything was lead, and then probably not all that long before we started hunting, they went to where you had to use steel for waterfowl, and now there's all these other alternatives, but the problem with all of the alternatives that aren't lead is that they're all way more expensive.
Oh, yeah. They're substantially more expensive.
And that's either because they're just more valuable metals or because they're harder to form into round balls that you can use for shot. Anyway, Matt, you were saying before we started this that you remember your first animal with a shotgun, right?
Well, I remember the first animal I shot at. I don't think I killed it.
Okay. What was the story?
We were over at Guy's at the farm where Jeff lives now.
Yeah.
And we were rabbit hunting, and we were walking down a fence row, and I don't know if I don't know if I was even 12, to be honest, but they saw a rabbit sitting in the fence row. I probably was 12. I think I was probably carrying that single shot 410 that Dad had.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this rabbit sat still, and we saw it wasn't moving. They saw it sitting. So Dad gave me the double barrel, the Ithaca, and told me to go shoot this rabbit. Well, I had never shot that gun before, so I didn't know any better. So I snuck over there, got to 25 yards, and pulled both triggers at the same time, and it knocked me over. And they all stood there and laughed at me, and the rabbit ran away. I'm pretty sure I didn't hit the rabbit.
So what you're talking about there is, we didn't really mention that, but on a shotgun with 2 barrels, they can either be single trigger or double trigger, right?
Yes. A lot of the newer ones are single trigger. The ones from that time frame when that gun was made, which was, fairly early, was double trigger. And I'll tell you, it really kicks when you pull both of them at the same time.
Especially if you're only 12.
Yeah. And at 12, I don't think I weighed, I bet you, I'm sure I didn't weigh 100 pounds.
Right. But yeah, and you're talking about rabbit hunting, and that is the primary for us. The primary use for shotguns has always been small game hunting. I mean, we've done some deer hunting over the years with shotgun slugs in places where you had to use them, but the primary thing that we're doing is small game hunting, right?
Yes. Yeah. And waterfowl hunting.
Right. And like we talked about in previous episodes, Dad's family, particularly the brothers and our great grandpa, so our grandpa and his brothers and our great grandpa, they really did a lot of small game hunting.
Yeah, a lot. I think more small game hunting than anything else.
Yeah, and the recording that we just got from Davey's mom, they kind of talk a little bit about that, and I wondered, I'd like to ask the next time we get Dad on. I mean, I wonder what kind of shotguns they were using then, like when they were, when they were young. What do you think those were?
I mean, I imagine they were mostly single shot 12 gauges, but I guess I don't know that for sure.
How far back do you know? So you just mentioned that gun that you shot at your first rabbit with. That was a side-by-side Ithaca, which Ithaca is a manufacturer of shotguns that still makes shotguns. How far back do you think that goes? Where did that one come from?
I think Dad actually bought that gun. I thought he bought that.
That was his grandpa's gun.
I don't know. I don't think that's right. I thought I just had a conversation with him about it.
And
he told me that he bought it at a gun shop for like cheap because it needed work done to it or something to that effect.
Here's the standard Rule Brother disagreement mid podcast.
GT
I remember
really loves how much we argue with each other on these podcasts.
If we're
I'm arguing out of love.
It's the one with the fancy etchings on the side, right?
Well, it has dogs, but that was a standard thing back then.
I'm fairly certain he was really angry at me one time because I left it in the bed of my truck overnight, and he told me that was his grandpa's shotgun, and he was really mad at me.
Maybe when he's told me he bought it, maybe he means he bought it at Grandpa's estate sale or something.
Well, we'll have to look into that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mark, was your experience like ours? What shotgun did you start with?
You guys purchased me an 870, a model 870 Youth 20 gauge, and took me out to shoot claybirds before I was 12, probably 10 or 11. And I hunted with it, but only because I had it, because before I got to the age to actually hunt, you guys then got me a Remington 1187 and a 12 gauge.
Boy, Matt, it must have been nice to have older brothers.
It was.
I didn't start with a nice pump action Remington shotgun. I started with the same thing Matt was just talking about. Which what was this, Matt?
I don't know what make it was, but it's a single shot 410, a youth size.
Yeah, a single shot break action 410.
Does Dad still have that, or does one of us have it?
Dad
I don't have it. It was a Dad's.
Oh, Dad probably has it.
Yep. Yeah, and so it was a single shot break action 410 shotgun. Oh, that brings us to another thing. It was choked. I'm going to say this and then explain it. It was choked full. So one of you guys explain choke.
Well, choke is, so you have your gauge, but then you also have how big the end of the barrel is your choke. So they go anywhere from cylinder to full. Cylinder being a slightly bigger hole than full.
So cylinder is the most open. So when you're shooting birdshot, when you're shooting a ton of projectiles, it essentially you're shooting a cloud of BBs, right?
Right.
And the tighter you want that cloud to be, the more constricted you want the end of the shotgun barrel to be. That's generally speaking what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
And so then those are called chokes. And what are, I guess,
there's a couple ones, Matt. I would say the most common ones are improved cylinder, modified, and full. I think those are probably the three that most people are familiar with.
And that's going from a more open choke tube that throws a bigger pattern, which is what we call that cloud. The size of the cloud is called the pattern. To the tighter pattern. So cylinder and improved cylinder are more open, and then modified is kind of in the middle, and full is tighter pattern.
Yeah, I can tell you in a 12 gauge that I can tell what choke is in a 12 gauge just by sticking my finger in the end of the barrel. I wouldn't suggest doing it loaded though.
No, that you definitely should not.
I can tell the difference between an improved and a modified with my pointer finger.
Yeah.
Because we've hunted with 12 gauges since, so long.
Right.
Most of them though are marked. The newer ones are almost all marked on the end with a notch so that you don't have to actually take them out. So initially the Remingtons, which is what we hunted with a lot, was a Remington 870. they were written on the side of the choke tube. So if you wanted to see what choke you had in, you had to remove them.
Right.
So I got around that by eventually figuring it out by how tight it was on my finger.
Right. And old shotguns, like we're talking about the things that our grandpa would have hunted with, they were generally a fixed choke. So you bought a shotgun, it came with a barrel, and that barrel was choked in a specific way, and that was what it was. And now modern shotguns are,
Yes.
they have removable chokes, so that if you're going to go dove hunting and you want an improved cylinder to have a big pattern, you can put that choke in the gun, and then the next day you're going to go hunt pheasants and you want a tighter pattern, you can put a different choke into the same gun.
Yeah, and it's quick. It takes minutes.
Right. And what Matt's saying about why he would know from putting his finger in the end of the shotgun barrel was because it's not as dumb as it sounds.
Yeah, I would not do this. I didn't do it with the gun loaded ever. I mean, action open, no shells in even the magazine. It wasn't like I was
right. But we were doing it, and we did it a lot, and we'll get to this. We used to shoot a lot, but we would change the choke out, and if you change your choke out often enough, they're only in there, quote unquote, finger tight, and we could actually just put our finger in the end of the barrel and turn the barrel a little bit and start the choke back out to remove it, and then put a new choke in there.
Yes, I didn't need it. Yeah, I would never get them in there tighter than I could get them with, essentially where I could get one out in the field if needed.
Right.
With my finger, not even necessarily the choke wrench.
Right. They do sell a tool that you are actually supposed to use to do that called a choke tube wrench.
Who needs one of those?
Yeah.
A quarter works well too.
Right. When you're 17, who hasn't lost their choke tube wrench after the first 2 weeks of owning the shotgun. So anyway, the gun that Matt and I both started with was a 410 shotgun, single shot, choked full, which is a very tight choke, and a 410 does not have a lot of BBs in it because it's the smallest common shotgun. And kind of what that means is that while they're good guns for kids because they don't have a lot of recoil, they're really horrible guns for kids because they're kind of hard to hit anything with.
Oh, I couldn't hit anything with that gun.
Yeah.
That's mostly what I remember about it. Shooting at things, and essentially never hitting anything.
I mean,
I honestly don't know offhand. I couldn't name. I'm sure that I probably have killed a few rabbits or squirrels or whatever with that over the years. When I say over the years, when I was just starting out. But offhand, I can't actually remember anything. Me actually killing an animal with that.
It's come in handy for me a couple of times throughout my life, knowing when I got my hunter safety card, because I know exactly when it was. I got it on September 1st of 1992, which was the year I turned 12, so you had to be 12. And I know it was September 1st because it was the first day of dove season. And it was like, I don't know, back then it was a couple day long class kind of thing. And I know that we got out of class, and Dad, like that afternoon, we went out. Probably had class until it was probably a Saturday, and we had class until noon. And then that afternoon, Dad took me out to Jeff's, to Guy's house, to dove hunt. And I had that 410. And like you're saying, Matt, I don't know that I ever killed a dove with that shotgun.
That I know of, yeah.
I'm sure I got a couple of squirrels with it. I can remember a couple that I got with it, but not.
Yeah, and that's because they weren't moving, probably.
Right, exactly. I guess that's another point. Like, the whole reason why you need a shotgun that throws a big pattern, mostly the idea is that you are shooting at things that are, either like rabbits running very fast or birds flying, and you're trying to harvest game that is moving very quickly. Mark, you started with a 20 gauge Remington pump, huh?
Yeah, I'm coddled. You guys bought it for me. I don't know how you can make fun of me for it. That's true.
Well, we're your older brothers. We can make fun of you for anything.
On top of that, we didn't want you to have to fight with that stupid 410.
Exactly.
I never had to hunt with that 32 Remington either, so
35
or 35 Remington. I mean,
I love that gun and I hate it all at the same time.
Yeah, I love the family history in it, but I hate hunting with it.
My history is I didn't hit anything.
Anyway, Matt, what was the thing that you kind of graduated to after the 410?
I don't know. I might have carried I probably carried the double barrel after that.
Yeah.
I imagine, because I think Dad had an 870 then. I think when it got to be where he needed a third shotgun, like you started hunting, you probably got the 410, and I hunted with the double barrel, and he bought himself an 870 would be my guess.
I think that's probably right.
Because I remember carrying the 870 grouse hunting a bunch, and that was another gun that, again, as much as I like the family history of that gun, I couldn't hit a whole lot with that either.
But I
would say my shotgunning was not great up until I started buying my own shotguns.
But I remember you telling a story about that shotgun with Pop Grant, right?
Side by side?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would have had to been, because I don't think I would have bought I don't think I would have had my 870 or my 1187 when Pop Grant was alive.
Right.
Unless I would have bought one of those this summer. No, well, it had to be before that. So, yeah, the first grouse I killed was with a double barrel.
Yeah, what was that story?
Well, we were walking along the clear cut. He was on the outside of the clear cut. He wasn't in it. I was. Down Little Moore's Run and up
at Deer.
The gated road to the left. Yeah, at Deer Camp in Potter County. And at that time, that clear cut was really thick, because you're talking about 30 years ago. And the grouse flushed, and I had shot at grouse before, and I, essentially took a wing and a prayer, which with grouse hunting, that's most of the shooting, might I say. You're sort of
especially when you're 14-ish years old.
Yeah, I feel like at that age I was probably shooting for effect, and I shot one shot and the grouse went down, and he actually beat me to it, and just looked at me and said, "You'll never get that lucky again." Gave me the grouse and walked back over to where he was. So, and I'll admit that he. Probably part of that was he was so good at wing shooting that I think that, I somehow at that moment beat him to that bird, because that bird was between us. It wasn't like it was on the other side of me from him. He was going to shoot at it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't going to take mercy on you and let you shoot.
No.
That wasn't the way.
No, he wasn't waiting for me to shoot first. That's for sure.
Right.
I always felt like grouse hunting, and I've gotten better with this, and probably that comes with all upland hunting, especially when I was a teenager. I always felt like I had to shoot absolutely as fast as possible. Like, don't take your time to aim, just get the gun up and fire.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely a mindset of I have to shoot quick because I don't have that much time. And we're talking about split seconds of difference, but it makes all the world in hitting things with a shotgun.
Right. And then you mentioned kind of what was your next thing after that? So you hunted with that side-by-side Ithaca for a little bit, and I think I did too, but I didn't hunt with it too long either.
Yeah. Well, eventually I bought that. I guess the Pump 870 was next. Although it might have been the 1187 autoloader, which I actually was one of the few guns that I don't own that I bought and then sold after a while. I've never sold a gun I don't regret selling. That's one of them. And I would buy that same gun again if I could find it. But good luck finding it. I mean, I'm talking, I've been watching for one for 10 years and I've never seen that particular variation for sale, at a sale anywhere. I don't really know if it was the 11, it probably was the 1187. And I say that because I don't think they came out with 3.5-inch shells till a little later. And that's when we bought our pumps.
Right. I think you're right about that and I say that because, so just to touch on that Remington 1187, like you mentioned, that was an auto-loading shotgun. Very similar kind of in style to their pump action shotgun, which is the 870, and that's what I bought. I know I was so proud of it. I bought a Remington 870 special purpose turkey.
Oh, that's right.
Which was a 21-inch barrel. It was a short barrel that was kind of specifically designed for turkey hunting, but you could do other things with it as well, obviously. And that's what I had for a long time. And you said about never selling a gun that you don't regret, which I'm kind of in the same boat for the most part. But I sold that gun to Davey, our other brother Davey, and he had it for probably 20 years, and then he was kind enough to sell it back to me a little while ago, and I do have that again now, and in fact, it gets used every year in turkey season. It's Caitlin's turkey gun.
Mm-hmm. Well, that 1187 was a special purpose 21-inch barrel.
Yeah, I think they were kind of like almost identical. They were both black synthetic stocks.
Yes.
And
21. Nothing fancy about them.
Right.
Yeah, not fancy. And I don't know what possessed me to sell that one day, and I did. I would have bought it. I would have.
That shotgun shot so well.
Oh, I shot a lot of grouse with that gun.
I killed a lot of ducks with that gun, with your shotgun.
Yeah, that was a good one. I don't know why you sold that.
I don't know why I did it either. I'm an idiot.
At least when I sell my guns, I
Mark,
sell them to you. And then
there's something we don't have to argue with him about.
Yeah, hey.
We're all idiots.
I know.
But anyhow, yeah. So yes, that had to be my next gun. And then eventually we both bought a 3.5-inch 870 when we were really into waterfowl hunting.
I think you, Dan, and Mike all went into Richland one day and bought them all.
Yep, we did.
He made a deal with him. You made a deal with Jim in there.
So I overpromised about something here earlier in the podcast. I said whatever the last technical thing was, I said would be the last technical thing. But there's one more, and you just mentioned it, Matt. Talk about shell length.
Oh. Well, the standard shell length for most 12 gauges, and for a long time it was the only shell length, was 2 3/4. And then they came out with 3-inch stuff. I don't know how long that was out.
Which were Magnums, probably
the 80s or something.
I think it was earlier.
It could have even been earlier. Yeah. And then I would guess somewhere in the 90s they came out with 3.5-inch 12 gauge. Now, I think part of that push was 10 gauge shells are almost all 3.5-inch.
Yep.
So I think that they was sort of trying to get a little more like a 10 gauge out of a 12 gauge gun.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why that came about.
And I really.
And you got, no, I was saying, you just got more, you got more pellets is essentially what you're getting. You're getting more projectiles.
Right. So as the shell gets longer, you can put more powder and more pellets in there for quote unquote magnum performance. But I think that the driving force behind 3.5-inch 12 gauge was the whole non-toxic steel shot for waterfowl thing. People were really noticing, that steel wasn't performing as well as lead, and they wanted more speed and more pellets to create a more effective shotgun system for waterfowl. And you could get that by going to a 10 gauge, but in making 3.5 inch 12 gauge, they could achieve nearly the same thing in a much more common gauge. Although you did have to have a shotgun that was specifically able to shoot those 3.5 inch shells, but a 3.5 inch 12 gauge could also shoot 3 inch and 2 3/4. So once you had a 12 gauge that could shoot 3.5s, you could do everything with it. And then we had those Remington 870 3.5 inch shotguns, Matt. I mean, we both still have ours, right?
Yeah, I have mine.
And
I mean, I essentially wore it out would be a good way to describe it.
yeah, well, I did the same thing with mine. It doesn't really load the next shell right most of the time anymore.
Yeah, mine the extractor claw is so worn off it doesn't grab the shell and pull it out of the barrel at least half the time, if not more than that.
Right. But we really used the heck out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even begin to guess how many rounds we put through those two guns.
How many rounds do you think you guys purchased from Jim at Richland Shooter Supply in your lifetime?
I mean, it wasn't anything for Mike and I to go out and each shoot a case of shotgun shells on a Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a box,
So
a case. Yeah, I mean, I would guess tens of thousands.
It had to be. And that
I mean,
was,
it seemed like there was a time when we were essentially going to Richland every week to buy shotgun shells.
right.
I mean, we would often buy multiple cases at a time, thinking, "Oh, that's going to last us for a while," and it might last you 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You never had them when you really wanted them.
And that was mostly shooting starlings and pigeons around barns with Dan Kreider.
Yeah, I mean, we should shoot clay targets there some too.
Yeah. But we spent a lot of time around barns shooting agricultural pests.
Yeah.
Mark, did you do a lot of that too?
Oh yeah.
You and Kevin?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Me and Kevin. I mean, we followed in your footsteps, and then my friend Phil Stenke and my friend Andrew Schreiber, they followed us around. We were over at Richland. Same thing. It was immediately after school we'd leave and head over there as soon as we could get out. Get over there and get shells, buy a case of shells, and it seemed like we always went through them much faster than we expected.
For a long while, we reloaded shotgun shells. You can take an empty shotgun shell and punch the primer out and put a new primer in and fill it back up with powder and shot. And I got into that when I broke my leg in high school. Mom and Dad bought me a shotgun shell reloader as a gift at that moment to give me something to do. And yeah, we reloaded a lot of shotgun shells. In fact, my favorite story about reloading shotgun shells, to just show you how much the times have changed since the mid-'90s when we were in school.
I think I know where this is going.
Dan Kreider and I had an English class together, and for that English class, we had to do a presentation on, like, you had to do something. You had to go in and show the class how to do something. And Dan Kreider took his shotgun shell reloader in and loaded a live shotgun shell in class. And I believe he got an A for that project, if I'm not mistaken. So, I don't think he can do that anymore.
No, I think you'd go to jail.
Yeah, I think that would be very frowned upon. I guess they were more innocent times back then. But anyway, yeah, I mean, we all got quite a bit of experience handling a shotgun through that in high school, shooting clay targets and shooting pigeons and starlings. And I don't know, it's really something that I still really love to do. I really love to shoot a shotgun, whether it's hunting or for target shooting, much more so than I do. Like I don't really enjoy going out and shooting rifles all that much. It's really shotgunning is much more fun.
Yeah, I would agree.
I can't tell last time I shot a shotgun. It's been that long.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't get out anymore. Oh, that's not true. A couple years ago, I did shoot at a couple grouse with Hunter.
Yeah.
But unsuccessfully.
You guys really ought to come out here some year in September for doves. The dove hunting here in New Mexico is really amazing on public land. Just great numbers of birds and lots of fun.
There's actually a lot of birds around here, and once they take corn off where we deer hunt, but we just hate to go dove hunting in our deer hunting spot.
Right. Hate to mess up the deer hunting to shoot a couple of doves.
Right.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with you quail hunting a few years back, Mike.
Yeah, there's very good
That's a
quail
good time.
hunting here too, for sure. And Matt or Mark, what are the family shotguns, I guess, the kind of heirloom things that are in our family that you can think of? Have you ended up with any yet? Because I don't know that I have.
No, I don't have any shotguns that were heirlooms. I mean, Dad still has all the stuff that was Pop Grant's. I mean, there's only one shotgun that I know of that Pop Bud owned, and Mark has that.
Yeah, a nickel-plated Model 12, Winchester Model 12.
And Matt, that shotgun of Pop Grant's, talk about that a little bit.
The Ithaca?
Yeah.
Well, it's a Model 37 pump. I mean, that's essentially about the only shotgun I ever really remember him using. I own one. I wanted one bad enough that I bought my own now.
Yeah.
Obviously has no sentimental value. Yeah, I mean, it has no sentimental value to me like the one he owned. Hunter loves that gun. That's what he uses to upland bird hunt.
Yeah.
Exactly. When I say I own it, it hasn't been in my possession for 2 years.
It's hard to tell. And
yeah, I mean, I don't know when I've seen it last.
Pop Grant was very fond of saying possession is 9/10 of the law, so
yeah, I kind of feel like that one's lost.
I think you might not own it anymore.
No,
Are they the Featherlight series? Are they like I think a super light?
Yeah, that's the Featherlight.
Yeah, that gun, I think you guys probably know this, but that gun Dad bought as a gift for Pop Grant.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dad bought that for Pop Grant as a gift, and they were really well regarded shotguns in that time because they were lighter weight, which was an advantage to carry for upland game hunting, and while still being really high quality shotguns. And Pop Grant loved that thing. You're right, Matt. I don't ever remember him hunting with anything else.
No, he hunted well, and the thing about he hunted all small game, so he didn't really turkey hunt that I remember, and if he did, it was very little, and he didn't waterfowl hunt at all.
Yeah. You know what's odd about him turkey hunting?
What's that?
What's odd about that is he did turkey hunt, and he always hunted with a .22 Magnum. He didn't hunt turkeys with a shotgun.
Oh, yeah. He didn't spring turkey hunt very much, probably, because I think even in Pennsylvania in the spring, I don't know that I ever remember it being a rifle for spring gobbler season. In the fall, when you could shoot either sex, you could carry a rifle. And did they just do away with that?
I think
I think they ended that now.
Oh, did they?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Ithaca Model 37 of Pop's is obviously something that'll never leave the family.
No, one of us will end up with that for sure, and the double barrel too. I would
Yeah.
hope. I mean, I own a lot of shotguns, but none of them are family heirlooms.
Yeah. I own a lot of shotguns too. They're so much more interesting to me for some reason than rifles are. I can really geek out about shotguns and different loads and what what to use in which situation. But I did kind of want to get around to, like, same kind of thing we did with rifles. Like, if what's the perfect shotgun? If you got to buy one shotgun and it's the one gun that you're going to own and use for anything you do with a shotgun for the rest of your life, Mark?
Probably a pump 870, just because it's always going to work. You can put them in mud, and I think Dan Kreider left one in a duck blind one time when it was cold and it froze, and we got there the next day and he killed a duck with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, they're so versatile. They're just so tough. So that's probably what I would go with.
Matt?
In 12 gauge.
12 gauge.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think a 12 gauge pump. I mean, I prefer a Remington 870, but they're not in production right now or anymore. So I would think essentially any decent brand 12 gauge pump with variable chokes.
Yeah, that is important.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
If you're going to only own one shotgun, then you essentially really, in this day and age, should find something with a variable choke system in it, because otherwise you're limiting yourself, or you're going out there with not really quite the correct tool for the job, depending on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be hard to argue with you guys, because I think I would probably lean the same way, but I do have to say that I own this Weatherby Orion over under that I just shoot it better than my 870, better than any other shotgun that I've ever owned. And if I had to pick one thing to hang on to, I might be hard pressed to not take that. But
now, is that a 12 gauge?
Yeah, that is a 12 gauge. I own a couple of 20 gauges, and I like hunting with them sometimes, but I don't know, day in and day out, the pellets are what kills the birds, and having more pellets is just an advantage. I mean, kills the birds or breaks the targets, and having those pellets, it's just such an advantage that, I really think the 12 gauge is really the better tool for almost everything that I do. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
I think from a hunting standpoint, yeah, you're always better off with, more pellets. I think that if I was going to pick a shotgun just to go shoot for fun, I'd pick a 410 every time.
Oh yeah.
I have several 410s, and if I'm going to go up to the cabin and we're just going to, shoot at cans, or I don't know, the kids are going to shoot it a little bit. I really enjoy shooting the 410, just a single shot 410. But for a hunting situation, I'd say a 12 gauge. I mean, I don't love the recoil sometimes of the 12 gauges, depending on what load you're shooting.
Yeah.
But that's just age on me, I think, at this point.
And there's a lot of guys who are going to say, like, the inertia-driven Berettas and Benellis, as far as their, like, one shotgun. And that's a great shotgun. I would just choose the 870 over reliability.
Yeah, it just works. Like, unless you have a worn out one like Matt and I have, but they just work all the time. It's pretty hard element to beat. The other thing is those 3.5-inch shotguns are so versatile for turkeys and waterfowl and everything else. It's really hard to beat the versatility of a 3.5-inch 12 gauge. Just because you can shoot everything from the lightest 2 3/4-inch loads, and when you're talking about a pump action shotgun, you don't have any of the issues you do. Sometimes some of the semi-automatics don't function as well, with really light loads. They've gotten better, but there's still some issues with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's really hard to beat a Remington 870 pump action shotgun for kind of doing everything. And that's why, that is, I mentioned turkey hunting at the beginning of this. I mean, you guys don't do a lot of turkey hunting, but kind of for different reasons, right?
Yeah, I've just always worked in a career where spring is kind of a no-go with time off. So it's always been hard to crack out of work and get a couple days up in the woods. And here in Pennsylvania, a lot of times seems like you need at least a couple days,
Yeah, it's
to get on them.
It's a tough place to public land turkey hunt. I mean, I think there's a lot of places that meet that description if all you have is public land to hunt. I think a lot of the eastern states, it's just hard. You get pressure and those turkeys get smart, and it's just not an easy thing to do. But Matt, what about you and turkeys?
Well, I mean, I did turkey hunt a little bit when I was younger with Dad and never had much success. I think that I felt like we were just walking around. In all honesty, and all the times I went out with Dad, I think I can only recall even hearing a turkey once. So yeah. I really think I just got bored with it. And what really took change then for me too was that time of year is the time of year I want to be bass fishing. It's really the best time of year to be bass fishing pre-spawn, and that has essentially taken all of my time up, and I just don't care to turkey hunt.
You're just not into it.
No. I mean, I would shoot one in the fall if I'm hunting upstate in archery season, and they're illegal. Obviously, they're in season at the same time. At some of the season of archery, turkeys are open, and you can legally kill them with a bow. I mean, it's not like given an opportunity in that situation, I wouldn't try to shoot a turkey, but I don't focus on them at all.
Yeah. Well, we obviously out here in New Mexico, and when we lived in Montana too, Caitlin and I have done a lot of turkey hunting, and we kind of get really into it. And there's kind of been a big development from a shotgun standpoint with turkey hunting in the last, I don't know, 6 or 8 years. There's a new shot material called tungsten super shot. Have you guys heard of this?
Yeah, only through you though.
Only because I won't shut up about it.
Yeah, pretty much. You geek out about it.
Yeah, it's super. The tungsten shot is super dense, and so you can get the same performance out of it with smaller shot. So like where we usually shoot with lead like 4, 5, or 6 shot at turkeys, with this tungsten super shot, you can get the same performance out of 8 and 9 shot, which is very small, which means you can get a ton of pellets and you get amazing range out of a shotgun for turkey hunting. And so while I'm still shooting 3.5-inch shells for turkeys, there's really probably no need to with this stuff. Like 3-inch shells will accomplish the same thing. And I've killed a turkey or two at ranges that I'm embarrassed to even talk about, like where I misjudged a range and shot him and got him, and then found out that it was much farther than I thought it was. And it used to be like kind of a normal turkey range was like 40 yards, and now it's no problem with that tungsten super shot to shoot 50 yards or even beyond that. It's just amazing. So like you could do, when I said about that Weatherby over under, there would have been a time when, just because of the turkey hunting, I would not have wanted to give up my 3.5-inch 12 gauge. But now I feel like I could, and go down to 3-inch shells and still get plenty of performance for turkeys. But there is one major drawback to those TSS shells, which is that they cost an astronomical amount of money. There's something that you can only really want to shoot like, you do for turkeys, where you might shoot once a year.
But that being said, if I'm going to drive to my cabin, I'm going to take a day or two off of work. I'm going to drive to my cabin. What's $3 or $4 a shot, or $5 a shot, or whatever it is.
10,
In my
10 or
opinion,
15.
Well, but even still, you're still talking about, you know what I mean? No,
Oh.
I mean, I'm spending $200 in fuel to get to my cabin.
I could not agree more, Mark. I think you're 100% right. And I think this is like an across the board thing. I mean, would you agree with that, Matt, that like people kind of cheap out on weird things at weird times, and shotgun ammo seems to be one of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think people definitely have their favorites,
Yeah.
for reasons that sometimes don't make any sense to me.
I mean, I think it's different saying, oh, I'm going to go buy tungsten shot to shoot geese, where you might shoot a whole box in a morning. I mean, that I get, but you're talking about turkey hunting where it's one, hopefully one round. What are they, 5 box? It's a 5 box of shells, Mike.
Yep.
So you're spending $100 for 5 box of shells, roughly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
$75 for.
So hopefully you are going to get 2 to 3 birds out of that box of shells.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, to your point, Mark, like I might drive to my turkey hunting spot, which is 2 hours each way. I probably drive up there 5 or 6 times a year. I mean, sometimes I go that far just to day hunt. And in most years, I get one opportunity to kill a turkey. I'm obviously not a very good turkey hunter, even though I do it a lot. And, I hear people say like, oh, I'm not spending the money on those expensive shells. And I'm kind of like, why not? You're going to get one chance a year compared to all the gas and all the other costs that you have in doing it. Like, wouldn't you rather have the thing in your gun that you're really confident is going to produce the best result? I mean, I think you're right. Like goose hunting or something like that, where you're going to shoot a bunch, and then yeah, sure, at some point, cost becomes a consideration for all of us. But I think it's kind of like the same thing. I mean, if you're going to duck hunt, and you might, a lot of people only duck hunt once or twice a year, and then they'll go to Walmart and buy the cheapest box of shells that they can get. And it's like, I don't know, the opportunity cost of being there to me just feels like it's worth spending, 25% more on shells to buy something that's really good quality.
Mm-hmm.
And, even for me, even when I dove hunt, I still don't go to Walmart and buy the cheapest box of shells that you can buy to hunt doves. I shoot something that's a little bit better because I feel like I get a little bit better performance out of it, and I get more birds because of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, I guess, was there anything else you guys wanted to cover in this episode?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys remember your first shotgun kills, or at least the first time you shot at something? I'm sort of the only one that told a story about that.
I had a very similar experience to Mike. I remember I must have gotten my hunter's safety course completed and purchased my license on that same exact day. I remember it was Kevin Kreider and Cork's daughter Courtney and I were all in the class, and we all left, went to Walmart, got our hunting licenses, and then went over to the Kreider farm dove hunting. Whether or not I killed a dove that day, I don't remember. But the first memorable shotgun kill I have, and I just talked about it a few weeks ago, it was the wood duck with you guys on the Beck.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure I shot some rabbits and some other stuff before that.
Yeah.
pigeons and doves.
I don't remember my first game that I got with a shotgun, but I absolutely know what my favorite one was. You and I were walking up the road at Littlemore's, not far away at deer camp, not far away from the story you told about hunting in the clear cut with Pop Grant. You know where I'm going with this, Matt?
No.
No. And we were walking up that logging road side by side because we had a way that we were going to hunt. We were grouse hunting. We had a way that we were going to hunt, so we were going to walk up the road to the top of the clear cut, and then we were going to walk it back down. And so to get up there, we just stayed together, and we were walking side by side on this road, just shooting the breeze, and a grouse got up on the downhill side of the road and flew across in front of us at about 6 feet. And it was at the time in our lives where we were both really doing a lot of shooting. And that bird got right about to the middle of the road. And in total unison, we both pulled up and we both shot. And the bird tumbled into the bank. And neither one of us had any idea which one of us was the one that hit it. Or if we both hit it. But it was just...
Well, I mean, looking back, I'm pretty sure it was me.
I thought from me telling the story, it felt obvious that I was the one that actually hit it, and I was trying to be nice. But but no, I don't know. For me, it was just a great memory of us being together, and one of those like it. You got to understand. These rough grouse that we're talking about in north central Pennsylvania, they move fast all the time. Like, it is always difficult shooting, and you're always surprised when they take off because we never hunted with dogs. And, this bird got up very close, which sounds easy, but kind of actually makes it more difficult because your pattern is so small when they're close. And it's kind of always special to get one. Right?
Oh, very special. Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so it was just few individual shots that I really remember that stands out in my memory. So I guess that's my story to wrap it up. Anything else to cover?
I missed a running pheasant 3 times the first date with my wife.
Oh yeah. You really showed her your prowess with a shotgun?
Really impressed her.
Yeah, way to go.
I have a hang up with those things.
With
pheasants. I've killed 2 or 3 like real early in my life. And I've there's something about them things lately. I don't know.
Well, I will tell you, I get very excited shooting at pheasants, and they are the easiest thing to hit that I have the most trouble with. Like, I can get close to getting a limit of 15 doves with 1 box of shells now. But, man, when I go to Montana and that first rooster or 2 gets up, I am so excited that I often struggle to hit them too, Mark. So it's not just you. Something about them.
Something about them.
All right. Well,
they just look so big.
They are.
And like they're not moving fast, but they're moving faster than you think they are.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just entirely about getting too excited and shooting too fast.
It must be.
Yeah. I don't know. Which is the worst thing you can do in virtually all shooting situations.
Yeah, I mean with doves and with waterfowl, the birds are coming. Here they come. All right, get ready. With a pheasant, it's you've walked a mile and a half.
Yeah.
And you finally get that flush.
Right.
And yeah, like you said, you just get so pumped up for it.
I think that's the same as grouse too.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, I don't know why, I guess for me, like, rifles and big game hunting, like, I associate a lot of work with all that stuff. For some reason, like, the hunting that we do with shotguns, I associate with a lot more fun. And part of that fun is those flushes and being surprised, and it's so active. You're not usually sneaking around. You're just out there, and you're usually able to talk with each other, and you're kind of doing it together. I don't know. Maybe that's why I love shotguns. I just associate it with so much fun, and I also just feel like such a connection to our family history with it, and hopefully we'll get a chance to distill some of those recordings that Davey's mom sent and get a little bit of that on the podcast to hear those brothers talking about, because they talk and laugh about the times that they small game hunted with shotguns together. Well, thanks as always to our dozens of listeners who are sticking with us on this podcast adventure. Since most of you are family, if you've got any old family shotguns sitting around in closets and you're thinking about getting rid of them, please hit us up. We'd love to have an opportunity to keep them in the family. But anyway, for everybody else, thanks a million for listening. As always, we are on Instagram at Outdoor Rules. We're easy to get a hold of by email, outdoorrules@gmail.com. All of our content goes up on the website, www.outdoorrules.com. And we look forward to continuing to bring you more episodes. So thanks again. Thanks for doing this, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love you too. Yep.
Hunting and fishing, the great outdoors, mixing history, laughter, love, and folklore, creating memories with family and friends. These are the trophies that matter in the end. Outdoor Rules.